Hello and welcome to the Spencer Scott Holmes Show. Today I got awesome guest 5 Meats Comics, who are the creators of Mashbone and Grifty, the ultimate comedy experience, I guess other than Pizza Boys maybe, of indie comics. So let's jump on in. Let's see where we left off at. Remember, you can always check out oldmanorange.com for more podcasts, comics, music, and all that fun stuff. Well, we could just get started. We'll just kind of leave off sort of where we were, and then it'll just flow in to be like, you know, what's going on. But, yeah, we were just talking about that WWE deal with NBC and how that was kind of just all funked up.
Yeah, we're talking about how awful Peacock is.
Yeah. There's no Chris Benoit content. There's no...
No, oh, you know what? No pause button. How about that?
Yeah, you know, the thing that we've had since, like, VHS era is all gone. Like,
I mean, I appreciate that they want to go so old school to make it feel like an actual pay-per-view on the black box that you had to drive to McAllen to go pick up from the cable company. But, man, that could stay as a memory, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's reasons these advancements were made, and now they're taking us back.
I gotta pee. Can I pause the pay-per-view?
Nope. You gotta run to the restroom, leave the door wide open, and have your buddy kind of narrate what's going on. Remember that?
Yeah.
And now
I just pee myself.
And now I just won't care about what I missed. That's it.
Yeah, no doubt.
That is. But I guess as we got this show kind of rolling in with some wrestling talk and all that good fun stuff, why don't you guys give yourself an introduction? I got the 5 Meats boys here, the Mashbone and Grifty creators on the show. This is technically, like, I guess, our 3rd podcast, though one of them's lost in time.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, this is the 3rd time around. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, we do have one from a show that never really made it called the Retro Slam Masters. Still an idea in the air, and if I look hard enough, I know I have the backup recording, not the main recording, but I probably have the backup recording of that episode sitting on my computer because I always keep multiple recordings going, so I should pull that out at some point and just put it up as like a special episode. But yeah, one of these days we'll have a fun time doing that. But other than that, though, how you guys doing?
Doing great, man. Trying to get this volume 1 of Mashbone and Grifty promoted, but we're starting to work on some other stuff. But doing pretty good.
Well, I kid you not, like, dude, the graphic novel you came out with the Mashbone and Grifty Volume 1, that is like one of the best put together books I've really ever seen in like an indie comic. Like, it outbeats just like even like larger ones. I remember when I got it, I was like, dude, the quality in it, the print, like. Because I think there's also something special when you're used to kind of reading a book, like, in the PDF form. Like, there's a big difference once you finally get the print.
Yeah, that was... well, first of all, thanks, man. Thanks for saying that.
Yeah, thank you very much.
That was a lot of that effort, man, was definitely put in by Oscar. But as far as overall, what we wanted for people to feel when they got this book is, yeah, that, you got something that was quality. We just because we're an indie comic doesn't mean that we have to, not go all the way with the quality on it, and we wanted to make it worthwhile.
Mm-hmm.
The way that I kind of put it to Oscar several times is, this is kind of our resume. This is all the years that we put in, working full-time jobs, and in Oscar's case, family and kids and all that stuff. We finally got to crank out all 4 of these issues. So this is our comics life's work so far. So we wanted to make sure that, that it showed. But yeah, like I said, a lot of that stuff, a lot of the decisions as far as like on the paper and all that stuff and where we got them printed, that was Oscar, man. That was a lot of Oscar.
Oh, I mean, it's a joint effort. I mean, we definitely cranked it out, at least once a day, we cranked it out to try to get this thing out. It was a lot of cranking.
Mm-hmm.
You really, you tell yourself you're not going to put cranking, on the schedule. But brother, you got to be, if you want to crank it, you got to say, hey, from this time to this time, there's going to be some cranking.
And you can't stop at crank level 10. You got to take it to crank level 11.
Yes, because these all go to 11.
It's one higher.
Yeah, and someone out there's gonna ask you, why don't you just make 10, more crankable? But that no, these all go to 11.
11. You gotta let them know.
You gotta go full crank. You gotta crank it all the way to when you're done cranking. You look around and you say, maybe I should just went to bed instead of cranking it.
No, you gotta crank so hard that bikers show up to your house and ask you where the crank is at.
Exactly, and for that reason, that's why Shakespeare on one of his B-sides he said to crank or not to crank. That is the question.
Yeah,
you gotta crank that.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's just making the comic books and sell them, because it is that thing that it's almost that also thing where if you could just put in just that at least every single day, just get something kind of going, just even if it's a tidbit here and there and so on, that will just start adding up. You know what I mean? And even just getting hey, I only got a half an hour today, but guess what? I'm still gonna get something done, and then maybe tomorrow now I can finally get there and just get all the extra work that I need to get done. But just stacking it up, because next thing you know, it's that's the thing is that after months have gone by, you're like, oh shit, it's done, cool, we got another issue out and so on.
Oh yeah,
that's definitely what we also we're doing this last year, man. It got a little tough there to kind of work on stuff just because of the weight of the world.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's exactly what we did, man. Just had to kind of chop away at it a little bit. Also, another cool thing is since we're a two-man crew, I know there was some days where I wasn't necessarily feeling it or what have you, but Oscar was doing his best on his end to kind of keep us going, So it was it's definitely helpful whenever you got two folks, working on a book. We can kind of pick up the slack and the crank for each other.
If Rolando's too tired to crank, then I will crank for him.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
And vice versa. That's how life works.
Well,
I crank it.
Yeah, you gotta crank it. Well, I think that's the one thing nice about having the tag team style of the 2-man crew, because if Pizza Boys, it's just myself, and there never is that other guy in the corner, that you can call on, So you're like, oh, I guess I gotta make sure I tell myself that we gotta keep going. But that does make a big difference, though, is when you kind of have that off day, and then you got the buddy to be like, dude, we got this. Come on, we'll take care of it.
And man, and bringing up Pizza Boys, reading through that, every now and again, through the issues, I'm like, man, it's only Spence doing this. This is fucking cool. Yeah. So that's pretty awesome, man. But and also that those thoughts make me appreciate it a lot more. That it's two of us working on this thing. But yeah, it's super super helpful.
Yeah, no, I think that makes a big difference, and also too, just Pizza Boys and Mashbone and Grifty, if anything like that, I think that's always what kind of I always dug about Mashbone and Grifty is it's funny how there actually isn't that many comedy books in comics. I mean, let's say disincluding comic strips. As far as regular comics, go to a store and flip through. It's there might be a book that has maybe some comedy in it, but not It's odd that that's a medium that's sort of missing it, though the old person term back in the day used to be the funny books, or the funny pages, or, stuff like that. But it's none of them are really that funny, you know what I mean? Just, they're mostly all serious stories.
You don't got a funky winker bean. Besides the name.
Besides that, So
that's why I didn't read Doonesbury back in the day. It's this isn't slapsticky enough for me. You learn to appreciate a little bit, but not slapsticky enough.
Well, also when you flip through Doonesbury and so on like that, it's those jokes are definitely made is it 1969? Oh no, it's not now. Well, you're not gonna get this.
Yeah.
Those are definitely of the time comics.
Yeah, and on that subject, man, we've kind of talked about it a little bit. I've actually ranted about it quite a bit. About the comedy comics and stuff like that.
Tell him, Rolando.
I ain't gonna go, full bar, but no, it's just it kind of bums me out that, especially in the creative space that we're in, is that people just love the sad shit. Mm-hmm. It's man, I understand that we want to, bring light to stuff and all that, but man, why is it that it all has to be fucking sad? Do more comedy stuff, because a lot of comedy, I mean, that's where it comes from. It comes from, real world stuff. It comes from real world pain and stuff like that. Real world issues, and you got to find the lighter side of things, man.
Yeah.
I know everything shouldn't be made fun of, but there's some humor in everything that happens, man. Because again, life's a comedy, and all we're doing is just kind of highlighting that stuff. There's so much hypocrisy, even in well-meaning folks. Like everybody's a hypocrite. So that's kind of also one of the things that we shed light on too. But yeah, man, like life's too short to just be all doom and gloom. Like the doom and gloom is always going to be there. So that's kind of do a little sidebar and kind of have some laughs, poke fun at each other and stuff like that. But it's also a matter of, there's a good way to do it and a really bad way to do it. And we've seen like way too much of the bad ways to do it. Thanks to social media, everybody's a freaking comedian. And a lot of people just do it really, really bad. And I think maybe that's part of the reason why comedy in general isn't being like perked up even more, is because of all the bad shit that's out there. But hopefully I hope that we're doing a good job of kind of representing comedy for what it's supposed to be. Mm-hmm. We do have it's, again, our stuff is slapsticky. It's a little bit of social commentary kind of buried in there. But again, it's the jokes are kind of a mile a minute. So, if you didn't get it the first read through, you'll probably get it the second read through. But the point is, you don't have to get those little underlying things. We make it a little subversive, but that's not really the point. The point is just to make you laugh.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely need more comedy specific books out there.
Yeah, I always kind of wonder, because, like, if I kind of, like, compare when you go between, like, animation and comics, like, the one thing that I've always kind of learned when I kind of shifted into comic books from animation was that there's only one real main element that's lost between the two, and that's the audio part. Whether it be music for certain scenes, or as far as a lot of times comedy goes, I was like, there's certain characters that, like, if you don't have the kind of the goofy, funny voice to go along with them, like, would it be nearly as funny in comic book form? And you always got to kind of change around that. Like, I'll use this as my example. Like, think if there was like 8 Crazy Nights wasn't a movie, but it was like a comic book. Like, would Whitey be nearly as funny if he was just written? Or is it Whitey
That's
funny
true.
because he's got the Whitey Duvall voice?
Yeah, or even like Pee Wee Herman. Like if
Pee Wee Herman was a straight up comic book, would it be kind of weird just to read it like that?
Just to read.
I think if Pee Wee Herman was a comic book, I think it would be like those subversive black and white 70s, like super indie shit,
Yeah,
like Crumb and stuff.
Those
Or
ones that are like printed off on like a Xerox copies that sold at Comic Con.
Yeah, I think there was one called Babyface. Where it would so Pee Wee Herman would just be like this black and white comic with this dude who acts like a kid and he's just walking around doing dumb shit. That'd probably be a horrible comic book.
And who knows, and maybe it'll work out in, like, sort of a different way, you know what I mean? But sometimes that's about the only thing I feel like that's, like, the one element that I feel that sometimes can be missing that you can't always get. It's, like, kind of like, like, sometimes when you're putting together a scene, you're like, man, it'd be great right here is throwing this song over it, and then you kind of realize, like, well, it's a comic book, you're not going to throw this song over it. And I sort of found those ways that you could almost, like, hopefully you could kind of, like, almost mention it so that it starts playing in someone's mind because they already know what that song is, and then it sort of fills in the gaps over it.
Well, we kind of we're a little mindful of that here towards the end of finishing Volume 1, because we actually made like a playlist on Spotify. Mm-hmm. It's kind of a soundtrack / like loose score for Mashbone and Grifty Volume 1. So if you read it like from cover to cover, a lot of the music in the playlist, will follow like what you're reading. Of course, everybody reads at different speeds. You're checking out backgrounds and stuff, so that's why I say it's like a very loose score. Mm-hmm. But keeping that kind of stuff in mind, like and to make it a little more like immersive, I guess, for our book, like that's why we did a playlist too. But yeah, that would be so awesome, like to be able to flip through a page and then have like a little clip of audio like play. That would be badass.
Yeah, exactly. There would be if you had like some sort of like multimedia book. That's almost like having like the old fashioned like kids books where they had like the buttons on the side.
Yeah, there you go. You need to do that for comics, man. Bring that shit back.
That would be kind of cool in like a really kind of goofy novelty way, just to put together a book like that. I don't know how much that would end up costing, but like that could be kind of fun.
Just to do it.
Just for like a
Yeah,
single
oh,
issue,
yeah.
even, like, you know what I mean? Just make this one single issue like very interactive. Have it pop outs and everything in it too. Why not?
Yeah, just a fully immersive book. It's like a book that reads like a movie, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And then it's even got like the turn the page like dings in there and everything.
Yeah. That's gonna
Well, we
go in
could
the
do this.
idea box.
We could do this on the cheap and just buy a bunch of those little trash talking things from like Spencer Gifts when we were kids.
Oh yeah.
Has like 8 buttons like shut up, eat my parts, eat my parts. You know those things?
Yeah.
Yeah, we just send that with the book.
There you go.
That'd probably be the simple way to do it. Yeah, just tie that in as a little like novelty gift to go with it. Be like, hey, here's some sound effects.
It would save on like, writing and coming up with stories. And then he says eat my farts. Yeah.
And then you have that for 3 pages, and people will love it.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean?
I love it already.
You want to talk about comedy?
Well, here, not only do I got a book though, I also got a sound box that goes with it too.
Mm-hmm. Take it with you. Take it with you anywhere.
Yeah.
Show up at a restaurant. Just tell people to eat your farts with this handy dandy 5 meets comic thing.
Yeah, exactly. You could be like a '90s morning radio show host with this.
Oh gosh, yeah. the little boing and all that crap.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
You say 90s, but they still got that here in Austin.
Oh jeez.
Yeah, it probably hasn't changed really. If you listen to any of those morning shows or whatnot, or that guy that's on like CNBC or whatever who does like the stock show and just has his giant board up there.
Oh, the Mad Money guy.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, the guys here in Austin, their favorite soundbite is this going anywhere? So they'll be doing like an interview, and like 2 minutes into the interview, is this going anywhere?
Yeah,
I'm not sure. I'm not sure where it's from and why it should be funny, but they love it.
They do. Well, they get to press a button. Who doesn't like pressing buttons?
Yeah.
That's why they have those toys for kids.
Exactly.
Relieve the stress. Press this button.
Yeah, press the button.
Shut up. Eat my fart.
Eat my fart.
They didn't get one that has like pull string on it, maybe, or something like that too. Make it even more old school.
Ah, there you go. That would be for the big finale. It does a pop up and a sound thing at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. Or I guess you know what you should have. You should put together some Mashbone and Grifty dolls, like like Woody style from like Toy Story, with like pull strings on them and like sayings.
That would be awesome. I'd love to do that. Hell yeah.
It'd be amazing.
I really wish there was some place that was easy enough to make action figures, because I've always kind of looked for that. But like every single time, if you go to make just like a few of them, you're like, well, geez, this action figure is going to cost like $100 to put this together. Well, that's not worth it, because I always thought it'd be cool to have like, just imagine having some Pizza Boys action figures or something like that. But it seems like unless you're going to make it yourself, it's going to cost you just way too much to be like even worth it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's
learn
smart.
how to whittle them
Nobody's
out
really
of soap.
tapped into that, huh?
Yeah,
Like you think with the advent of like 3D printing, somebody would come up with like an easy kind of interface online to make quickly 3D printed crap.
yeah. You think you would almost be able to just literally just make like a 3D model of your character and just send it off no different than. And probably here's the thing: someone's probably listening, going like, actually, there is this place. If you would have looked here, but like I've just never ran across it yet, and I've looked multiple times. But why can't it be like a sticker company or like any of those other ones where it's just like, hey, here's my artwork printed out on something.
Yeah, and that's weird. Like sticker companies have just now started to like do mass advertisement. I've noticed.
Yeah.
So maybe the action figures thing will come in like 10 years.
Yeah.
Some ridiculously long amount of time.
No, yeah, it'll be around the corner and so on, so that we could have all this, the excessive merchandising of all the comic books and so on, But
Oh hell yeah.
because I feel that's what having that little bit of extra stuff. I mean, I've kind of learned that just from I always do the judging based on like when you go to like a concert and you see a band. I feel like you can almost judge a band based on how good their merch booth is. That right there to me makes such a big difference, because you'll have some bands and they'll be like, here's 2 okay T-shirts, and we have maybe a hat. That's about it. You know, and it's like, to me, I was kind of feeling like, oh, well, you guys must be kind of a boring band. And then you look at the other bands, like, oh, we got like 50 shirts to choose from. They're all awesome. You get hats, you got pants, you got all kinds of goofy knickknacks that you didn't know you wanted, but they're here now. Come on down and buy some.
Yeah, and that was kind of another thing that we thought about whenever we're doing the rewards for the Kickstarter.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because we did the trading cards, which is really really cool to do. We did 10 of them because, you know, we didn't want to just do like, oh, here's a poster and here's like, you know, some artwork, you know, for some artwork to accompany the artwork that you're already purchasing.
Yeah, you bought the book, but here, have some more, you know.
Yeah, we wanted to go kind of, again, full bore on the whole comic book experience, you know, because we love those Marvel trading cards when we were kids, man, and to have some for your own comic book, like, that's super cool. So we, you know, we went into business for ourselves on that one, but also, you know, we thought it would be really cool for again the whole comic book experience, because you also have a little more information on the trading cards too, like supplemental information for the comic books.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely thought about the whole merch thing, because you hit the nail on the head right there.
Well, it's like a lot of times too, like what I think of is really the best kind of merch to have too is stuff that has multiple purposes, you know, because like sometimes that's the only thing I always feel about, like when, you know, someone just has like an art print. It's not that it's not cool, but I mean, how many people's houses does that go to? They look at it once and go, oh, that's pretty cool, and then they put it in a dresser drawer, never to be seen again. You know, I like to try to think of that stuff like, what's something that they're gonna use, you know, and it would be multiple purposes. And I use like the one that I liked a lot from your from the graphic novel release was the coasters, because I'm like, dude, I use coasters all the time. You know, you put them on like the old like 1800s table you got sitting there, want to make sure you don't destroy it, boom. And if I see like a good coaster, it's like, yeah, I want that coaster, and so on. And then it's always sitting out, you know what I mean? And that was like, even with Pizza Boys, when I found those like bottle opener pizza cutters, I'm like, see, that's the kind of thing that even if they didn't know exactly even what your book was, they'd be like, well, I can get use out of this. It's got a bottle opener and a pizza cutter.
Dude, that is super rad, the freaking combo pizza cutter bottle opener. That was genius stuff, man. When I saw it, I was like, oh, hell yeah. Good job, Spence.
That was the one like I had to have. And I remember like the hard part was trying to find a place, because like every place wanted me to order like 500 of them. And it's like, well, I don't know if I want to spend like, you know, like whatever it costs to get them, like have 500 of there. And I finally found a place like, okay, I'll do 200. 200 I can handle. I can figure out a way to sell these off.
Yeah.
You know, but that's how I kind of feel. It's like that, or it's like, you know, I like things like magnets and so on, because, you know, like, hey, a magnet, everybody's got a refrigerator, it's got your artwork on it, you could slap it over and hold up like whatever paper you need to hold, boom, it's got double purpose going on.
Yep.
You know, just little things like that. But yeah, speaking of which, if even coming to the Comic-Cons and having all the extra merch and so on, like, what's that looking like over in your area of Texas?
Oh, Texas, everything is open.
Oh yeah, see, you just got freedom. It's not like
COVID is gone. Yeehaw! Open the stores.
It's not. See, that's the thing. It's like being in California, like things just like locked up, and everybody's just like still like, oh, I don't know if we should go out yet, fellas. It's like it's dangerous out there.
Yeah, I just saw today on the news that they're having this whole big what to do in New York. You know, they're going to, like, New York is opening up. There's only like 25,000 COVID cases per day now, which is the same as it was the lowest that it's been since last year. It's like, oh, you mean since the fucking start of COVID? Like, yeah, it's a great idea. You know, like, yay, we won. It reminded me of that time that old George W. landed on that aircraft carrier, and it said, like, they had the big banner that said mission accomplished, and then there's like nonstop warring in the Middle East. Like,
Yeah.
It's like fucking way to go, America. Like, this is what we're here for.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, okay.
Who needs comic books when life, you know, just kind of makes you laugh like that?
It's true, but I mean, at least the upside though is in like that time period. And maybe for like other people, it's not as good. But I feel for like at least comic book making wise, not comic book selling wise, of course. You know, last year was kind of like, hey, maybe hopefully everybody's got a little bit of extra time on their hands to kind of knock out some more pages and so on.
Yeah,
artistic wise, it was pretty great. You know, especially when like you get laid off, then you got a lot of time to work on stuff. But yeah.
And that's another thing is, you know, noticed also in just a lot of creators, because they had all that time, they've also, branched out into other things, like a lot of the TikTok stuff, a lot more people doing lives and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Just doing more, because you had that time. You had that time to think, and then, go crazy for a bit and be like, you know what, I should be working on some of this stuff. So it's been cool, absolutely, like creatively for folks, got to find that positive somewhere, the negativity, but
that's what I was
thinking. For sure. Yeah, for sure. It's been a good time to be a creative.
Yeah, it is. I feel that's kind of like how to sort of look at it. It's like one of those ones like, hey, if you got some extra time, things aren't going to get in the way. I mean, like, yeah, you might be able to not do certain things, but what can you do and what can you do more of? Why not knock some things out and get that kind of done and what have you, It's like myself, I'm about close to finishing, putting together the last finishing touches on Pizza Boy's graphic novel 3, so...
Nice.
Getting there, and then I feel like I'm going to have nice... solid 3 books I can go and slap in people's faces once these Comic-Cons come back around again, and then go from there.
Yeah, stockpiling the art, stockpiling the merch and the wares, if you will.
Yeah, just kind of getting that stuff and, doing the old... Because I don't know, I've kind of like... in my mind the idea of like almost like you were like a roadshow band in like the early 70s or something like that, and you were just gonna go tour the country, but instead it's with comic books and Comic-Cons and just going there and just hustling your wares and what have you. Like there's kind of like this like almost like idea in my head that sounds kind of neat, especially if you had like a few people and you were almost like you were on concert tour and you're like, hey, we're traveling the country and going to Comic-Cons and selling our books, why not?
Yeah, we missed the hell out of that, man.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, super fun. And to your point, like just the people at the conventions and stuff, because we, in the convention that we went to, we saw a lot of the same people and stuff, boothed up next to a lot of the same people and everything. And yeah, we missed that. That camaraderie within the, the comic scene for the creators, but then also the people, just interacting with them and just talking about our book and stuff. It's definitely something that's missed, man. Think about it a lot, and hopefully we can get back to that, pretty quick.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too, because there's something like, you could talk to somebody online about it and so on, but it's not the same as when you kind of are like in person and you got your book there and they're kind of interested in what it was. Or even maybe they're not that interested yet, but hold on, we'll get them interested in a second. Reel them in, show them off and so on. I feel that's a lot easier, especially when it even comes down to sales and so on, is if you could talk to somebody in person, like, yeah, I feel just a lot higher chance than just being like some kind of like picture online, just like, who's this asshole? You know what I mean? I don't want to see a stupid book. Who does he think he is? Yeah. But if you see a person in real life, you're like, oh, I guess he's not really that much of an asshole. Like, he's not just that picture floating around telling me to buy his book.
Yeah, it's like whenever I used to sell furniture and stuff, and the thing was, you get people to sit down like at a dining room set and have them feel the table, sit in the chair, imagine themselves, sitting in that same dining set in their house.
Yeah, you're like
same thing with the comic books. Put it in their hand and have them flip through and stuff, and they'll be like, all right, I'll get this one. As opposed to just kind of seeing a few panels and stuff like that, and they're like, maybe I won't. Online, but
yeah, because online you might go, that's kind of cool, and then just keep scrolling, and so it
keep scrolling.
Where I feel like in person you're kind of looking at, you're like, oh, I kind of like the artwork, it's kind of neat. This guy looks like he could use the money. They're looking at you. You're kind of standing there like, come on now, come on. Old Sal needs a new paycheck.
Yeah, we make sure to put.
I like to nervously adjust my tie.
Do the old Gil.
The old Gil here, he's you just call back up the wife. You're like, oh, you should have saw me the day. Well, no, I didn't get a sale, but I was this close.
They flipped through the book once.
Yeah, I always feel like this is when I visualize selling at Comic-Cons. I like to kind of give it like I picture myself like Kurt Russell in used cars and whatnot. Like I'm gonna just like really work this sale over, and I think it's also because you go to Comic-Cons, and I think with a lot of people there, you get kind of a lot of just almost a really, really nerdy people that have never really been out in public and had, public speaking and so on like that. So you can see that they kind of sit down in their booth and they're kind of like, people will come on by, right? okay. And they just they're quiet and they don't say anything.
Oh yeah.
And I like to go in there
Oh,
like
yeah.
almost like you're a carny and whatnot, and you just kind of lead people in, and this even do kind of like weird shout outs at some point where you're like, indie comics. And they're like, people's heads turn and they're like, what? And they'll be like, sir, yes, you, come on over, yeah. You like comic books? And then when they go, no, I don't like comic books, be like, well, that's okay. Was this right here? It's a sitcom. You like sitcoms, don't you? Here, open the book.
And the thing is, it's like, and because of that, because maybe there's not a lot of social interaction amongst a lot of folks, like, I feel like even online, that's frowned upon. Because even on our posts, man, like I post stuff because like in that kind of like with that kind of tone, because I'm excited about our shit,
Yeah.
But I found that that's the kind of stuff that gets like the least amount of engagement. And I talked to Oscar about this too, and it's like, man, like it drives me fucking insane, like how dry and droll people announce their projects and stuff, and more power to them though, because it's working. But it's like, man, I don't function like that. Like I'm excited about my shit, the same way that I'm gonna do, like you're saying, Spence, like the conventions, kind of coming out of like a salesman and carny. It's like, man, like I'm confident in my stuff. Like I just want everybody to also check it out and stuff. So, but it's weird.
Oh, go ahead.
It's just weird how that dynamic like can either. Like, it can work for you or it can work against you, like, pretty strongly at conventions, too.
Yeah, well, it's weird because it's like at conventions, it's almost like people, like, maybe if it's working against them, but, like, they're still like, oh, well, this guy's almost, like, kind of, maybe the person far away might go, like, oh, that's kind of weird. I don't know if I should go near that.
Yeah.
But a lot of times people, I think, kind of, like, they don't expect it, so it's kind of like you're bringing them in, you're reeling them in, you're giving them, the old Wolf of Wall Street treatment, putting them down the straight line. But it's like, the weird thing is a lot of times online, though, it's like, if people see that you're selling something, it's like, I don't know what it is. There's always some people, and here's the thing, it's probably not that much of a percentage, but it's just those people stand out really hard because they almost just look at you like, you should just be giving that out for free. I don't want to pay for your stuff. Be like, yo, did you have to work all these hours on it? Like, it's so like, a lot of times I always want to ask them, like, what do you do for a living? Just tell me how you make your money. And then whatever that is, how about you come over to my house and do it for free? Yeah, you don't want to do that, do you? Yeah, exactly.
It's like that thing you were saying earlier, like, who's this asshole?
Yeah, but like they'll do that because every once in a while, like people, they treat it like they got like spam, and it's like, dude, that just kind of came down your post. I don't know how you're connected to me, on Twitter and whatnot, but somehow, some way, through the algorithms, you got this. Like, I don't know why. It's just a comic book. Like, it's a funny book. Like, geez, I'm not trying to sell you pills or anything like that. Well, I don't know why you're getting so like uppity on me.
It's not going to be bad for your health. It's actually probably going to be pretty good for your health.
That's like those people that like really go like, yo, I am not sharing your stuff. Be like, okay, well, you didn't have to say it in that tone. like I'm some kind of heathen, like putting out the Black Plague to everyone. Like, God.
I will not shill for you.
Yeah, I think also, too, it comes from just people that I hate to kind of say it, but I think that their lifestyle, like, things are a lot more provided for them, so it's not like they have to, like, almost kind of go out there and work and get certain things done and so on like that. So it's like, when they see you kind of doing a little bit of hustling, like, they don't like that almost. Like, it's like, for some of us, it's like, yo, if I don't do this, the money ain't going to be made.
Yeah, I think human nature leans most towards, people don't like to be sold to. Because it's almost like you're telling them what to do.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of plays a little bit into it. But it's like, man, just check out my stuff.
Yeah. It's like, at the end of the day, it's like, I don't know. It's like try in different ways. And that's why a lot of times I like to go, like, you know what? I'll go with the kind of ads that I like. I love that kind of in-your-face 90s attitude where it's almost slightly insulting but still fun. I think that's sometimes the best type to kind of go with. Like, I think it was like, I think it's a Kickstarter season 2 one. I made that, like, my video for it just look ridiculous. Like, it was flashing lights and colors galore and just cut back and forth real fast. Like, almost so much so that, like, you probably had to watch it twice to know what it really was. But, like, I'm like, you know what? I want just to have that feeling, and whether or not that's exactly the right way to go about it, I don't care what the right way is. I want it to be the fun way.
Yeah, and that's kind of something that also, I guess, speaks to like our products too, is that, they're very, like, our stuff's very, Pizza Boyz and Mashbone and Grifty, like, very sarcastic like that, very, where it kind of, just again poking fun at itself, and also in that case, poking fun at itself, and also just advertising in general. But a lot of folks don't take it that way, and they're just like, oh, someone's trying to sell me some shit.
Yeah.
But it's cool to kind of navigate that and kind of try to find the balance and figure it out. That's what I enjoy the most about it. It's like, folks make your own decisions and all that, but I like playing around with the different ways to try and get people interested in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. After the first Kickstarter we did, well, the only Kickstarter we did, I mean, halfway through, I gave up halfway through, and then we pushed once we thought it was going to go through, and like, man, at that point I had no shame. It's like every day, I'm going to do like 5 freaking tweets, spread out through the day, and I'm going to make an animated GIF for each one. I'm just going to grab whatever stupid GIF and meme is popular, and I'm going to slap our stuff on it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to re-export that shit, and that's going to be our tweet. And yeah, the way that I took it is that, like, you have to do it because no one else is going to do it, Like, nobody else is going to shill Pizza Boys. Nobody else is going to shill Mashbone and Grifty except for us,
It's not going to have that same advertising that, like a large company could almost just drop something out there and it'll just literally spread like wildfire.
Yeah. And it's not like we are, deviously inviting you to our dinner party, and when you get here, we're going to try to sell you jewelry and shit and Tupperware.
You're like, this is going to look really good in your kitchen.
It's Amway.
Yeah.
It's Amway.
Like, oh, damn, I can't believe, Oscar and Rolando got tricked into selling that stuff. Oh, man, their credit's going to get messed up. No, we're selling our shit,
Yeah.
This is... Can we curse on here? This is our shit.
Yeah.
That we make. We're proud of it, and we'll never shut the hell up about it. That's the way we got through the last half of the Kickstarter, and that's the way we're going to be day one of the next Kickstarter.
Exactly. I think that's the thing is you just got to go hardcore on it. And as I said, there's always going to be that one person who just has to say something. But I really always think at the end of the day, that percentage of people is so low. Of course, they stand out because you always remember those people. You're like, who's this jackwagon trying to tell me how I can or can't advertise my book and whatnot? And a lot of times I always want to flip through. I'm like, well, what do you do? Let me go see what you're like. Oh, well, you don't create anything. What you got all these opinions about? What makes you so special? But at the same time, it's like, here's the thing. The other, like, 95% of the people out there who are telling you, like, oh, yeah, dude, awesome, I can't wait to see this, or, to get this, and whatnot like that. That, like, makes up for it. It's just that little percentage out there of somebody who just has to say something. Well, whatever.
Yeah, you can't please everyone. You're not gonna. And again, just being the comedy books, man, like, you already know that you're not going to please everybody, because if you could, then thered be a hell of a lot more comedy books.
Yeah.
So you got to make that noise to raise that awareness of our art, of our specific type of art.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I think with comedy too, it's like the people that are like, into like comedy and so on, like especially like the specific comedy that we kind of got going and so on in our books. You know what I mean? Like, that's like almost like the target audience. Like, you're not going to sell, our books to like the little old grandma lady. I mean, maybe you would, you never know. But, sometimes there's that kind of thing where it's like, I kind of realize that there is a cap off always, like in certain things. But once again, you still never know.
Yeah, you gotta reach as many people as you can. But actually, with the little old lady thing, I think it was one of the last conventions that we did. It was here in McAllen, the Rio Grande Valley. The first people that came up to us once everything got going was this older couple. Man, they must have been like in their 60s or something, or early 70s. And it turned out that like the husband was like super into Mashbone and Grifty, and he was super excited to meet us, and took a picture with us and everything. And the wife was going on and on about how much he loved it and all this stuff. And yeah, he wanted to take a picture, this and that. So then they take off, and then a few minutes later they come back, and now like the wife wants to take a picture with us. She's like, yeah, I didn't want to miss out. I wanted to take a picture with you guys. And we're like, man, who would have thunk it? Like, freaking Mashbone and Grifty story. It's a story about these two dummies, and they were all into it. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but they found our book at the at the store in the Valley. Is that right?
Yeah, they went to the comic book shop that we had it at here, or that we still have it at, Nostalgia Comics, and yeah, like they were just browsing around. They picked it up, and the dude loved it, and they picked up, I think, issues 2 and 3 as well.
Yeah, they picked up
they were
whatever
there.
that we had that they didn't have.
Yeah, but yeah, that was pretty cool, and again, just kind of goes to show you never know exactly who your audience is going to be. So try to reach as many folks as you can.
Yeah, well, that's just a cool story in general too. Just the fact that like, hey, they found it at the comic book shop, because that's always the one. Whenever you go to leave books off at comic book shops, you have really no idea who the heck's going to be able to be the person that finds it there,
Yeah.
But then just to meet up with them later on and being like, oh my gosh, you found that there at this comic book shop, and now you're here and turn into a big fan and everything like that. Like that, nothing's cooler than that.
Yeah, actually, we also had another kind of story.
Oh yeah.
Oscar was in town here in Brownsville a couple of weeks ago, and we were going to get together, to just kind of discuss, the next steps in the process and all that good stuff.
Battle plan.
Battle plan, yep. And we went to this one place that sold ceviche. It's called Sana Ceviche, which in Spanish is kind of a play on words, because if you like, instead of saying like son of a bitch, people say, son of a biche, but then you kind of turn that into son of ceviche, and then this guy, changed it up a little more. But anyway, we walked into this place, and there was nobody there, and I was wearing our Latinx shirt, and it says 5 Meets Comics in small type on top of the logo. Looks like the X-Men logo or what have you. We walked up, and before we could order or do anything, he looks at the shirt, and then he points at it. And I forget exactly what he said, but it was something like, like, do you guys know those guys or
Yeah.
Right, something like that. And then we're like, we are those guys. Like, we're 5 Meets Comics. It's like, oh man, because I got your comic book at Nostalgia or off that comic book shop on Price Road and blah blah blah. And we're like, holy crap! like what are the chances? The one freaking place that we came to go eat, and this guy has our book. And like you said, it's just an awesome feeling. We chopped it up with him for like 15, 20 minutes or something, and he was telling us about his comic book collection and this idea that he had for stuff, and it was pretty neat, man. And yeah, that's kind of the thing that sparked that sparks the that just want to go back to comic conventions, man, because once you put in all this work and sales are great and everything, that's obviously you want to sell your stuff, but to see the people in person that like your stuff and want to talk to you about it, like, that's super cool, man. Like, nothing beats that.
Oh yeah,
we talked to that guy for so long our ceviche got cold.
You're like, could you put some more lime in this? It needs to cook a little bit longer, I guess, now.
Right.
It's not cold, it's cold.
It's like, put this back in the fridge. We'll hang out for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
But no, that's like one of those ones that, like, small things like that I think a lot of times people don't always get to, but like literally just like nice comments, little reviews, like all that kind of small stuff, saying how much they really dig your work, like that can make it like the creator's day beyond like anything else. Like just even one good comment or review can make you just go like, just start up just like a whole brand new inspired work, day, like where you're just like, dude, I can't wait to go back and start drawing. You know what I mean? I'm just gonna knock these out here. Like it's like if someone's not getting those, like there is that kind of thing when like I just feel like by not talking to anybody in person a lot of times, like in just like the last while about like the comics, because it's like it's almost like you miss that sort of thing, and it's just like, oh, you don't have that like where you can just like share your book with somebody brand new or someone who's like, oh, I had volume 1, so I'm coming in to get volume 2 now or something like that, and you just it's just never the same thing online. I think that's online's a great way to still find people that you would never expect that would kind of jump in from all over the world, but it's when you're in person and you get to talk to somebody and you get that connection and they got the comments and they got like how much they enjoyed it and so on, and that kind of effect, that's always the cool part.
Yeah, it's a confidence boost, man, because a lot of time, if you work in any kind of art, while you're creating, you think to yourself, man, this thing fucking sucks. This is going to be a piece of shit. No one's going to like it.
When you're done with the book, none of the jokes are funny anymore to you.
Because you've read them like 1,000 times.
Yeah, you poured over them, and you're like, "Oh, is this gonna work?" But then you get that person talking to you, and yeah, it boosts your confidence, and that's why you want to go back and start writing, drawing, and all that. It's like cool, like okay, like this is actually pretty good. Someone likes it. I'm gonna keep doing it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just from doing comedy for so long, I've gotten to that point where, like, once I know that, like, the jokes don't seem funny anymore, I'm like, it's okay. It's okay. I've seen this happen many a times. It's just like, it's just because you've read it 1,000 times. It's all going to work out.
Yeah,
Where,
gotta
like, the
calm
first
yourself
couple
down.
times that happens, you're like, oh, wait a second. But now it's, like, at the point where it's just like, nope, that just means I've looked at these pages way too long.
Yeah.
That always happens to me kind of like in the inking process too. Like, I feel like I'm like full steam ahead. I knock out the script. I get like the pencil drawings and kind of everything out there, get the lettering all done. And then once I get to like the inking part, it's kind of like, oh, I've already kind of been here a couple times already. It feels like now you're just like literally tracing your steps almost like by that point. And you're like, and I don't know what it is that's where it always slows down for me a bit.
Yeah, inking is definitely I kind of zone out when I ink,
Mm-hmm.
and it is a crazy experience to just like backgrounds. Oh, I hate backgrounds so much, and like you look at issue 1 of Mashbone and Grifty. There's a couple of pretty cool backgrounds, and then issue 2 and 3, not so much, and. But issue 4, I think, has like the best backgrounds I've ever done, and I hated every second of it. I hated it.
And you know what? Like, I kid you not, whenever I look through comic books, backgrounds is like the number one thing. That's like almost like my go-to thing I look for. Because I like, and it's not that the backgrounds have to be like perfect. I love just those kind of backgrounds that have a lot going on in there. It's almost like they got personality. Like it doesn't have to be perfectly drawn backgrounds. I don't care about that stuff. I like stuff where you go in there and you see like someone's room. And like the room itself can tell you so much about that character. Because I hate to sort of say it, but there's a lot of indie comics out there that like I've read before where it's like you could tell that the artist is good at drawing characters, but that's about it. And like it just feels like these characters are existing in like limbo somewhere. And you're like, where are we at anymore? Are we supposed to be in a house? I don't know what's going on anymore. There's people talking, but I can't tell what the setting is. And it's like as well as one's like. There's something so much to be said, and it's weird because I'll say this, I see that in DC and Marvel every once in a while too, where like I remember there was like a Batgirl book once, and I was like, was that literally 2 pages of no backgrounds? Like, how did that happen? Like one of those ones where it's just like I'm not asking for much, but like just throw one here and there. Like this feels like one of those like 70s comics where they're like, we gotta get it out. There's not enough time. Erase the background. Just put a color splash there. They're kids. They're stupid. They don't get it.
They drew the Batcave 2 pages ago. You know where they at. You know where they're at.
You got a question where he's at? Jesus Christ! Come on, guys.
Yeah, I think I successfully conveyed like character in a background only twice. Like the room that Grifty wakes up in after he gets the shit kicked out of him in issue 1, and then Superdrunk's house in issue 4. I think those are the 2 times that I really went all out to like make backgrounds, and I had in both of those pages I had Todd McFarlane ranting in my ear. It was like, while you're learning how to draw the thumbs and the fingers, I'm drawing bricks in the background and lamp posts and newspapers on the floor.
Is that the one where it's like there's a line I love in there? It's like one of those just very subtle lines where like Grifty, they're like inside Superdrunk's house, and he says he's like, it's actually cleaner in here than I thought.
Yeah.
I just love because there's just like stacks of pizza boxes and like beer cans and everything all over the place. But like in his mind, he was expecting it to be like just torn up.
That was me making sure that Oscar did draw that room. To make that joke work.
Yes, he was the Todd McFarlane in my head in that page.
Yeah.
Well, one of the nice things is because of the color schemes that you've kind of used ever since like the issue 2 on up. Now in the new version, of course, there's color schemes in the first one, but like when that was just straight black and white, there is something to be said about being able to have like that color to express that emotion. Because I will say that that's also another thing that's like in black and white, like. you know, like, and if you got color in your drawings and so on like that, and you'd be like, well, this character's angry. Well, just slap a red background on it. Boom, you know he's angry. And it really enforces it and so on. It's like, you almost like in color or in black and white, it's like, oh man, I don't have that where I can just slap a color for like the emotion in there to really like add that extra emphasis. You know what I mean? So there is something to be said about that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
just,
it's a different feel.
Yeah.
Reading the single black and white floppies we sell, and then the full color version in print, and and the digital version. It's a very different feeling, and I didn't even notice that until we got Open for Biz printed, and I was able to flip through it. Like, it really got that, yeah, it's different. It's very different.
Yeah, well, and it's like I like the idea that you actually have both the black and white versions and the colored ones too, because I think that's kind of neat to have that, because that's something that I like a lot too, is whenever I can get like the black and white versions of books, especially like when there's things like I'm gonna use like like the old Ninja Turtles books, they do like the recolored ones, but it's like no, I want the black and white. I want the way that they were like intended to be in the 80s.
Yeah, it's not the same. Those Turtles books are not the same if it's full color. Those old ones,
yeah. I took a look at some of those. They don't look very good.
No, well, it's like the black and white, the black and white artwork in those 80s Turtles books. Like, I love that. That's like some of my favorite ones. And that's the thing, is for as popular as the Ninja Turtles are, very few people I know have actually really like gone back and read those ones.
Yeah.
But no,
yeah,
it's
they're
like,
really good stuff.
Yeah, because I guess probably it's because Pizza Boys is in black and white, so I always kind of gravitate towards like, black and white, material and so on. But no, I love actually having the choice of it, where it's like, oh, you got the graphic novel here. It's all got the color, and plus, I think the cool thing about the color in yours, and I remember it was like, I think you did it like from the second issue on, but where it's almost like there's like a color tone that kind of goes over it, so it's not just like straight up like, hey, here's the characters just in color, but like, it's like, hey, this one's got like this blue hue that kind of colors everything in. I just think it looks really neat like that, but it almost feels like it sort of simplifies the process, but it also looks really cool at the same time and looks kind of artistic and so on.
Thank you. Yeah, and it's not just sticking a color on the top layer and changing the blending material. It's actually not that at all. It's like I have a specific color scheme. I have a specific palette for each feeling. It's like a shade of red for the hair, a shade of red for the skin.
Mm-hmm.
Or in some cases, I think when we got some yellow in there, it's more like yellows and oranges and red mixed together when like for the action scenes.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, and I think that's just kind of it. It's like it's like it almost dictates the mood, but it is very, very like orchestrated and like how each one of those colors and so on works. I remember the first time I saw that, like I was trying to decipher, I'm like, how exactly are they coloring this one? Is it like, I was sitting there trying to break it down at first, because I was like, this is cool, and it's like, but it's like one of those ones, it's either, I was thinking like, this is either the thing where it's like, this makes the process easier or harder, and I wasn't too sure.
Easier because I'm not good at color.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think so. Harder maybe just for the fact that I got to think about like each scene, and I don't like the default is like that baby blue.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like, so we can't have every scene like that,
Yeah.
So then there's like action scenes, or there's deep. I think the scariest thing we've had is deep purple, because that's when you know that the red is going to show up afterwards. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, and it's also a great song.
Yeah. Oh, also green, because green is stinky. That one's not even like that. There's like not even like much thought into that one. Green is just stinky.
It just is. It's like cartoon like smell color.
Or or in the case of issue 3, Christmas.
Yeah. Yeah. If it's scary Christmas.
Yeah.
But yeah. Well, I know you guys got
another thing I like to say real quick. Another thing I like about the color scheme that we do is that you, other than the cover of the book, you never actually see the characters and the world in normal ass color. Everything is through a veil. If that makes sense.
It's all like you got kind of gels placed over, the lights in a sense.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, though, like I really like that color a lot. I think that really makes it stand out, because it, in a sense, just doesn't look like other books but with that kind of color scheme and so on in it. You know what I mean? You pop this book open, and it's one of those ones where maybe you expect it to look like how the cover is, but since it doesn't, you're like, oh, but this like really hits the moods, really kind of tells what's going on, and you could almost convey like just by, even if you didn't even read the panels, you really can see what's going on just from that color alone. I guess unless you're colorblind, maybe.
Oh, you got me.
Yeah. But I know you guys have been working on this one for quite some time, putting out the graphic novel and so on like that. But is there the Mashbone and Grifty 5 on the way pretty darn soon? I know it's been a while, it seems like.
Well, there is, but not right away.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of what we had discussed is kind of what comes next, and one of the projects that we want to get to next, and people have been asking for, is Lemon Pepper Huggz issue number 2, because after we did issue number 1, that was kind of between, that was while working on issue number 4 for Mashbone and Grifty. So we cranked out, we did more cranking. We cranked out, we did Lemon Pepper Huggz issue 1, but a lot of people loved it, man. It's an all ages book. Which you want to talk about reaching people. That one reached quite a few that weren't into Mashbone and Grifty, or maybe wasn't their style. But yeah, a lot of people have been asking about that one, so that's going to be one of the next things that we do before we get to issue 5 of Mashbone and Grifty. But rest assured, we do have the story pretty much down for issue 5,
mm-hmm.
and actually damn near the next 4 issues in the series. So that will be coming, but first we're going to work on Lemon Pepper Huggz 2.
Well, that's a good. I'm glad you brought that up because I kind of I remember when you first came out with that issue, and I was like, oh, this right. Like I just looked at it, I was like, this is one of the smartest things to possibly have, because we all know if anybody's got pretty much a rated R comic book and you're at like a Comic-Con, how many times does somebody come up to you with their like 8-year-old kid and be like, hey, is this, you got something for kids or something like that? Which, at first you're kind of going like, 8-year-old kid, what's he doing at Comic-Con? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's a dangerous place for your kid, you know what I mean? There's people over there smoking cigarettes, half-naked women walking around. What are you doing here? But like at the same time, it's like, dude, like the idea of having, in a sense, the G or PG book to go along with it. Like, I literally, like, after seeing that, I'm like, okay, I got an idea in the back of my head where I was just like, a Pizza Boys Kids issue that I could make that's just like literally like G-rated, maybe PG maximum. But then whenever you have that issue that comes up, because that happens quite often, boom, there you go. You got your kid-friendly book that you don't have to worry. You don't do that thing where you're like, well, yeah, sure, my book's kid-friendly. Here, you got money in your hand.
Well, yeah, half the reason Lemon Pepper Huggz came out is because of the guilt of selling so many issues of Mashbone and Grifty to kids.
Yeah.
Because we did that shit. And
I think everybody does, because if someone's standing there with like money in their hand, especially when you kind of need money, it's hard to say no.
And when you try to tell the kid you can't sell it to them because it's too grown up for them or too naughty or nasty or gross, they get their parents to come over and buy it for them. And then, you're like, well, that still kind of sucked. So maybe we should try to come up with a kid book.
Well, that's also like the thing too, because then it's like but then you tell the kid no, then you feel like that dickwad at GameStop trying to tell the kids that they can't buy a mature rated game. It's like, and as a kid myself, I would have been like, I never want to be that person. I never want to be that man.
Yeah, for a couple of dudes that played Mortal Kombat when they were like 9 or 10 years old, like. Yeah, it was kind of hard to do that, to your point.
Yeah, because it's like every mom and pop video game store would never even bat an eye at a kid buying a mature rated game. It was only GameStop was the one that tried to put their foot down on there, and you're like, no way, not doing this.
Yeah,
I guess because mom and pop ones are like, yo, every sale we get keeps the doors open.
Yeah, at the same time, I turned into a freaking hypocrite because I got kids now, so I see the kid wanting to buy the comic book, I'm like, this ain't for you. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, exactly. It's almost like that one where it's like, you sure you don't want to, watch this nice G-rated movie? Oh, no, you don't. Oh, okay.
I don't want to be responsible for your life. That's what I tell them.
It's funny how like almost like sometimes you get kind of like when you're a kid, you're like, no way, man, everything's gotta be rated R, it's gotta be mature rated and so on. And then I notice when I get older, I'm like the person now looking more forward to like that E-rated game coming out than anything else.
You become desensitized to all the messed up stuff.
Yeah, then you start going backwards. You're like, you know what? I just need a nice, good, wholesome, friendly adventure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's kind of weird, like like for the brand, because for the Five Meats imprint, because we got this like super mature title, and then you got the all ages thing. So it's again, it's like yin and yang kind of thing. It's like you would think it would balance out, but it's like, man, like this, like it's pretty cool that we can hit both kind of demographics. But it's just kind of silly to think like, man, like, all right, like that's how we do, Five Meats Comics.
Yeah,
like, we can go either way.
And our kids' book is like, it's still enjoyable and funny. You still have, there's no cursing and cussing and whatnot, but you still got kids talking shit about your grandmama's caterpillar eyebrows,
Mm-hmm. Well, I think
Yeah,
that's the thing
still
is
super sarcastic.
you know that you can't use the swear words, or you can't have like a guy coming in asking for his lost cock or anything like that. But you can. But sometimes, like in the process, you can find those kind of jokes, like those nice, like almost kind of lighthearted jokes that sometimes can actually even be funnier. Like it's one of those ones, because then you kind of like, okay, I gotta play with what I can do and so on. You get those good, funny, like almost like kid jokes, like it's like the Goonies or something.
Yeah, and it's like when when we were growing up, what I used to see, was just the little kiddie cartoons. But then after a while, and this is like super young, you're 7, 8 years old, and you're starting to watch like Eddie Murphy stuff, Richard Pryor.
Yeah.
A lot of the more adult like Mexican comedians and stuff, like this one guy named Polo Polo and stuff like that. But then at the same time, start seeing stuff like Animaniacs, the Looney Tunes and stuff. And those had some pretty grown-up jokes in them, but, they were like grown-up jokes undercover.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like silly slapsticky stuff. So that's kind of where the mindset is with Mashbone and Grifty. But going even further into that mindset, with Looney Tunes, Tiny Toons, Animaniacs and all that, that really helped with Lemon Pepper Huggz. Because I think we had that conversation where I was telling Oscar, like, man, I don't know if we can freaking do this. Or if I, like writing this stuff without the swear words. But again, just kind of taking the brain into that space of, man, like this is stuff that you grew up with, like that's like the foundation of where the writing comes from is all those cartoons that kind of adultish humor, but it's not really, it's not egregious or anything like that. So that's where the vibe went with Lemon Pepper Huggz. But
well, a lot of times too, it's like, it's like, don't get me wrong, I like a joke from like any of like the spectrums, from like the most hardcore, like heavy jokes to like just the light ones and so on. But like sometimes it's like those very subtle jokes anyways that like they're pretty much still G-rated and so on, that would be the ones that like will make you just laugh for days anyways. You know? It's a lot of times that's what Simpsons always kind of wrote off of, was those very like light kind of like passing jokes, and those light passing jokes are always sometimes like the best ones in the the whole thing. And it wasn't anything raunchy or anything like that. It was just that like, here's just like a little moment, but then it's like that's the ones you remember. So I feel like then and there, like that's where it works. But I think that the Lemon Pepper Huggz, though, one of the best ideas to have to balance out with like when you're doing the R-rated book. I mean, I think any of us in the indie comics that have like some form of mature rated book would benefit by having at least one issue that you could be like, hey, at least here's this kid friendly one.
Yeah, you got to diversify.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's cool. I'd love to see another one of those anyways. I had just as much fun with that book as I did Mashbone and Grifty. And keeping that comic train going, getting those books out there, whatnot, And now that you got, in a sense, the graphic novel, the nice thing about this, though, is I feel like you got this, like, solidified. There's something to be said, like, when you kind of have it, like, it's not just a bunch of floppies in your hand anymore. It's like, you got a book that you could slap down on someone's table, you know what I mean? And it's like, now you mean business. You're open for business right here. You got the book.
There you go. And that's also one of the things behind Open for Biz, man. Like I said, this thing, like you're saying, slap it on somebody's desk, this bad boy's our resume now.
Yeah.
So that's one of the other things that we were talking about, is just pitch. That's kind of the mindset that we're in. We love making comics and all that, but man, I'm greedy because I still want Mo. You know, I want to do more stuff with this. You know, the original idea behind Mashbone and Grifty in college was to make it a cartoon. You know, and I know a lot of comic purists, you know, kind of frown upon that stuff, but you know, hey, screw you. This is our art.
Yeah,
But
like that. Yeah, I let me just interject super quick on that. Like the people who are on Twitter who like to get on there and rant about how if you're in this comic book business to, you know, make a cartoon or God forbid make something, you know, get out of it. Shut up. Everybody fell in love with comics because of X-Men the animated series, Batman the animated series, The Tick the animated series, so on and so forth, blah blah blah.
Yeah, well,
So yes. Now continue.
That mindset anyways, like whenever I hear that, I'm like, that's probably somebody who never had to pay for anything in their entire life. Those are the people that had the free ride. They're probably still not paying bills. Like I used to run into people like that when I made movies and so on like that, where they're like, you know what, man, like I just want to make movies like not for money or anything like that. I'm like, well, that's great when somebody else is paying for you to go places, but when you need money, it's like you can't just be doing things for free now. You know?
yeah, we'd all love to, but
Yeah, like I wish I could float around like a little flower and just like life just like worked out like that. But it's like no, you got to make money. And like I hate to sort of say it, but even with comic books, like realistically, every comic book that people know, like is like you know a name that like mom and pop in Oklahoma even know. They all have some form of an adaptation, whether it be a movie, an animated series, or so on. You know what I mean? Like, if the Ninja Turtles was just strictly a comic, do you think like everybody would know what it was? You know, if Scott Pilgrim didn't have a movie and a video game and all that kind of stuff, do you think everybody would know what that is too? I hate to say it, but that's sort of what makes things known. I mean, think about even just like the most bizarre comics that you never heard of, and then all of a sudden there's like, oh, there's a movie of this. Oh, okay, like almost like that Wanted movie with Angelina Jolie. I don't think I would have ever known what that was without that, even if it's not even the same thing.
Yeah, that's what I've been saying for a while, man. Is you know that's what Hollywood's been doing for the longest time is adapting comics to the screen.
Yeah.
So that mindset of you know just do it for the books, like what, like why would you just want to do that?
No.
And to Oscar's point earlier when he was talking about diversifying, I mean that's kind of what you want to do. You know, you want to make a comic, but you also want to do the merch. You also want to try and you know pitch it to try and get something else done. You know, make this thing that you've worked so hard on, this story, this art, this that you've worked so hard on, like make it into something else. You know, like just spread it out.
Yeah.
You know.
Expand. Oh, here's another, probably the better example beyond anything is anything that was a manga, pretty much that everybody knows of is turned into an anime. You know what I mean? It's there's probably very few mangas out there that doesn't have an anime that people really know about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It mostly always goes, hey, I saw this anime and now I kind of want to go back and read the book. It's never really always like, hey, I read the book. Oh, and by the way, there's a show coming out now.
Yeah. And that's the reality of it, man. And again, that's why the mindset is our resume. This is what we can do.
Yep.
You know, on the page. So just imagine if you gave us free reign on a freaking animated series.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing too, because myself too is like, I kind of jumped in like. First and foremost, I wanted to make movies, and then once it was like, okay, it's hard to find people to work with all the time and so on, I was like, okay, I gotta try animation, because then I don't have to work with as many people, and we can just, like, it just takes time and so on like that. And then animation led into comic books, because comic books was like, well, comic books you can do with even less people and so on, and you can get it, you know, but like, in my opinion, I think they all kind of like help each other. Like, I think it's weird to think that you should like separate those, you know, and it's like, no, like, if there's a movie made of a comic book, it's only going to make those comic book sales go up more, you know,
Yep.
And vice versa. If there's an animated series of it, or if there's even like, you know, just other like different takes, and it's even if it's like not even the greatest take, it could be a movie where it's completely different than the source material. It still helps the name out at least, you know.
Yeah, you're still raising awareness for the medium.
Yeah, you know, I think it's like, even if it was like a bad movie, it's still at least would like, people might go, well, the movie wasn't that great, but if you read the comic, let me tell you.
Yeah, the book is always better, so.
Yeah. You know, one of those kind of things and so on. Yeah. But no, I think that's always that closed-minded set of like not letting it expand. Like, I feel like, yeah, it should expand multimedia. Like, I don't know. I've always used like that term. Like, I like anything in the multimedia spectrum. Like, you know, go in. It's, becoming why not have a Mashbone and Grifty video game and so on, Remember, people have done that to me before, like, you got a Pizza Boys video game yet? Like, I'm one man. I can't make that many things.
Well, actually, we do have a video game.
Oh, do you?
Oh, man.
Look at you.
You remember that? That just popped in my head. Remember, I did that last year, I think.
Yeah, it was last year. I think it was midsummer, late summer. He did like a little little prototype of a Mashbone and Grifty video game. It was funny as fuck, man.
Was it
was
it like a beat 'em up game, like a Double Dragon style? Like that's what I sort of pictured.
It was a top down RPG. It was I was trying to learn how to do this super dumbed down code. I forget. I think it was GB Studio maybe. To make your own Game Boy style video games, and I made a really small. I think it's like maybe a 2-minute game, where you're going to help out all the little characters who need help or whatever. You go into Cheddar Burger's bar and help him clean up the bar, and then you have to help Grifty find his Denim Dakota Dan toy, and it's just like little random. I was just trying to learn how to do it, and I put a bunch of dumb dialogue in there, and that was kind of fun. I should try to release it somewhere.
See, because those ones that's like that would be kind of cool to have, is to have the game. Now, granted, like with so many of these things, it's like you have these ideas, and then like I know with myself, it's always a time thing. It's always like, well, how much time am I going to have in the day to do this? But that's where like almost like as it expands, it's like it'd almost be nice to be like, hey, if I have a couple people that wouldn't mind like doing the programming and so on this game, because I always feel like that's a great way to have just like if you get a game out there or something like that, like that's probably almost the best kind of extra advertising you could have for the book more than anything else this day and age. Put it up on the Switch shop and Steam and everything. Why not?
I should just release that stupid thing for free. It's just a little ROM.
That's what I was gonna say. Like we should just put it out there for free, and like you said, it's just good advertising for it.
Well, then you can get some nice Chinese fellow to put together a cart for you, so you can have the official one, little bootleg looking cart.
That would be so rad.
to be continued on that one. I gotta find it.
But yeah, well, that'd be awesome to see. Anyways, like I like the idea of that. But with all those kind of fun different marketing ways and expanding into other multimedia stuff, I guess we'll get this all nicely wrapped up. Let you guys kind of go. I know I got kind of dinner on the horizon looking here. But beyond all that fun stuff, what is the best place for people to go to find all the good works of Mashbone and Grifty and everything else you do?
Ooh, this is nice. A while back, we would have to come up with all these little wacky, this at that store, this at that store. Now it's 5meetscomics.com.
I like it. See, that's how I've come myself. I just go, it's oldmanorange.com. You'll find everything else from that point on. Nothing else. That's it.
And it's the number 5. Don't be kind of funny and try to do FIVP.
Yeah, we're keeping it simple here, Yeah. But go to 5meetscomics.com, pick up the book,
and right off the bat,
merch.
Yeah, you can pick up the digital book, you can pick up the shirts, all that stuff.
Yeah, it's got all this stuff. I mean, this is one of the best comics, I kid you not, you're going to probably read. Try to tell me that there's better comics out there to read. I don't think you're going to find them. That's how good Mashbone and Grifty is.
We definitely won't tell you that there's better comics out there.
Don't even bother looking. Don't even bother looking. You go straight to the source. You buy it. We got there. But well, thanks so much for coming on the show again. This is our 3rd episode, 2nd one to be released. One of these days we'll uncover our relic of our mysterious Retro Slam Masters episode that never made it.
That was a fun, man. We definitely need to do something like that again, though. That was a really fun pod.
I know it's always like, it's like so many things. It's like, how much time in the day do you have for everything? But at some point, I wouldn't mind doing just like a little bit of a little wrestling commentary on some, classic matches and so on. And just even if it was like just for the hell of it here and there, that would be cool. But beyond all that fun stuff, go to oldmanorange.com. That's where you'll find my comic book, Pizza Boys, and then, of course, all the other podcasts I do from Old Man Orange Podcasts, via VHS, and so on. Till then, I'm Spencer Scott Holmes, and we are out of here. No!